Off with approve our minutes and call on Chairman Pettis Reed.
Mr. Chairman, I have gone over our minutes. I haven't found anything wrong, and I would like to make the motion that they be approved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Let's move on. Next on our agenda is PBA vacancy to fill retiring member seat, term to expire January of 2026. We have 5 people that are applying for this, and I want to call them in order to come up, say, tell us who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself, and as to why you want to be on the PBA. I'm going to start off with Justin Stingler. I'm sorry, buddy. Come on up. Right there. Thank you for coming.
My name is Justin Steininger. I am a resident of Rutherford County for the last 30 years, a graduate of SMYRNA High School. I currently live here in Murfreesboro in the Kittrell community, and have lived there for the last 12 years with my family. My father lives out there as well. I'm a local business owner. I have started a local land clearing and tree business company that has been in operation since 2019. And also have a nonprofit here in town that I work with. My primary reason for initially applying for this is the vacating member reached out to me and asked me if I would consider taking the spot. And so just with connections that I have in the community, things through our nonprofit, things that I have in the county government, I thought it would be a good opportunity, a way for me to serve and be involved in this since I've been here long enough, and maybe time to step up and do a little bit to it. So that's my reasoning for applying for it, and hopefully I can serve it well if you guys choose to put me in the position.
Do we have any questions? Thank you, sir. Next is Michael Jones.
Good evening. My name is Michael Jones, as Commissioner Harris indicated. Just real briefly, a little background about me. My undergrad came from Middle Tennessee State University. I obtained my law degree from Nashville School of Law. I am a private practice attorney here in Rutherford County. Also recently have passed my contractor's exam for small commercial and residential buildings up to $1.5 million in value. Do anticipate having that business operational April 1st. In my law practice, I have done quite a bit of litigation involving general contractors, contracting issues, contract enforcement. So from a legal analysis, a lot of things to do related to contracting with the business, the requirements imposed by the law. I do have a good grasp and understanding on that. Additionally, I do have knowledge of the construction industry as evidenced by my recent passing of those exams that are administered by the state for purposes of evaluating those applying to become licensed general contractors within the state. I'd like to serve on this board. I think I would bring a unique perspective and experience to the board. I'm fiscally conservative in addition to my experience, so I would like to make sure that Rutherford County taxpayers' dollars are being used correctly, are being used on the proper projects, and are being spent wisely, efficiently, and effectively. So I do look to bring an element of that. And then prior to becoming private practice attorney, I did spend quite a time with the state of Tennessee in various roles, and some of those roles did include government contracting. So I do have the experience as it relates to those requirements as well. I would like the opportunity to be able to serve on this board and serve the citizens of Rutherford County, and I'd take any questions if you have them.
Are there any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Royce Johnson.
Evening, Mayor. Royce Johnson. I put in for this opportunity to serve, try to help the county. Give you a little bit of background about me. I'm a business owner. I'm an engineer by trade, but by life. But I am also a business owner here locally. I've been in Rutherford County here 53, going on 54 years now, so I'm a lifer here. I want to take the opportunity to join the team and learn from the team, but also share some of my experience and share some of my education. My educational background is I attended MTSU along with Ashford University. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration. Also have a bachelor's degree in public administration. I have a master's degree in criminal justice. So I want to be able to just share my knowledge and then also learn from the group. The main thing we want to do is watch out for the taxpayers' money, make sure that we're spending their money wisely and that they're not being taken advantage of. It gives me another opportunity to serve the community I love and the county that I love and I've lived for a long time. So I'll be glad to take any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Russell Hensley.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Russ Hensley. I'm with L&L Contractors. I've lived in Rutherford County and Murfreesboro since 2003. I'm a prior service U.S. Army Ranger. I have a pretty extensive construction background. I was one of the construction managers that helped build the Avenue Murfreesboro. I've built numerous residential projects. I also worked with Providence Marketplace in Mount Juliet as a project manager with Harper Corporation. So I have a lot of commercial construction experience. I was invited to hopefully fill an open seat from one of the PBA members, knowing that I have a construction background, pretty serious about the community, and also this is a personal and professional growth opportunity for me to get out there, expand myself, expand my network, learn from mentors and mentor others. I really want to be involved in the community. You can't complain about something if you don't give into it, and you got to, provide the experiences, lessons learned throughout the way, and I think my military background provides a lot of leadership, and I am glad to help in any way I can. So I'm glad to answer any questions anybody might have.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for this opportunity.
T.E. Williams.
My name is Elaine Williams. I've been a resident of Murfreesboro for 11 years. My Master's of Business Administration came from Middle Tennessee State University. I came to the construction industry in a very non-traditional way. I am a woman-owned construction company. I love construction so much that I left my corporate global position to pursue commercial construction. My family thought I was crazy for doing that. But that is really the reason I want to serve. I believed that I could be a builder. Having a treasury background, as we know in construction, doesn't matter what you build, you've got a budget, you have compliance, and you have a schedule. And those are all skills that I bring from having a global treasury background. One of the things I did also that was a little bit non-traditional is I took 18 months being woman-owned to get all of my certifications, which most people thought was odd as well. I'm a certified project manager professional for construction, and next month I begin my classes for general contractor. But I have worked at Fort Campbell. I have worked on major projects downtown Nashville, and this week I start working on 2 projects at the BNA airport. So it would be my pleasure to serve. And I'm glad to be a part of the Murfreesboro community.
Any questions? All right, thank you. All right, Commissioners, there's 5 strong applicants here. So I'm going to do this 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. We're going to vote on 3, then 2, then 1. Everybody understand? Go ahead, Rachel.
Jonathan Beverly.
Hensley, Williams, Jones.
Hensley, Williams, Jones. Commissioner McAdoo.
Williams, Jones,
Williams, Jones, Hensley. Commissioner Rather,
Williams, Johnson, Hensley.
Williams, Johnson, and Hensley. Commissioner Paul Johnson,
Hensley, Johnson, and Williams.
Hensley, Johnson, Williams. Commissioner Reed,
Williams, Hensley, Johnson.
Williams, Hensley, Johnson. Chairman Harris.
Jones, Hensley, Williams.
Jones, Williams, Hensley.
Yes. Okay, here's what we got. Hensley and Williams goes to the next round. We have a tie for the third, so we're going to have to vote for that. It's going to be between Michael Jones and Royce Johnson. Everybody have fun. It's going to be all right.
So between Jones and Johnson.
Yep.
Commissioner Johnson,
Johnson,
Johnson. Commissioner Reed,
Johnson.
Johnson. Commissioner Beverly,
Jones.
Johnson.
Jones.
Jones, I'm sorry, Jones. Commissioner McAdoo? Jones. Commissioner Rather?
Johnson.
Johnson. Chairman Harris?
Johnson.
Johnson.
All right. All right, gentlemen. The three we're voting on, and we're voting for two, is Hensley, Williams, and Johnson. Hensley, Williams, and Johnson, two.
Vote for two.
Yep.
Hensley, Williams, Johnson. Commissioner McAdoo? Williams, Hensley. Commissioner Beverly?
Williams, Hensley.
Williams, Hensley. Commissioner Rather?
Williams, Johnson.
Williams, Johnson. Commissioner Johnson?
Johnson, Hensley.
Johnson, Hensley. Commissioner Reed?
Williams, Hensley.
Williams, Hensley. Chairman Harris?
Hensley, Williams.
Hensley, Williams. So final vote, Hensley, Williams.
All right. Last one, gentlemen. Hensley or Williams?
Commissioner Rather?
Williams.
Williams. Commissioner Johnson,
Hensley.
Hensley. Commissioner Beverly,
Williams.
Williams. Commissioner Reed,
Williams.
Williams. Commissioner McAdoo, Williams. Chairman Harris,
Williams.
Williams.
Got it. Congratulations, Ms. Williams. You'll go before the full commission with the recommendation from the steering board. All right, I need to move one thing up before we get to our next one. We're going to confirm judicial commissioners, Ariel Cooper and Trinity Poland. Ariel is not here, so I'm moving her till April. Is Trinity Poland here? Come on up. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am originally from Knoxville. I participated in the Explorer program with the Knoxville Police Department just a little. Graduated from that basic training program, moved to Murfreesboro to go to MTSU. I obtained my bachelor's in criminal justice there. I have a couple years of experience case managing for a reentry program inside the jails as well as outside the jails. And I'm just looking forward to my next steps with the town of Smyrna as a judicial commissioner.
Any questions? Thank you. We're confirming Ms. Poland for judicial commissioner. Do I have a motion to confirm?
So moved.
I have a motion. I got a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Poland. Let's move on. Next is our Conservation Board vacancy, term to expire February of 2023. We had 3 people that are applying: Cindy Ayers, Jason Scales, and John James. I'm going to go in the order in which they came in. So, Ms. Ayers, are you here? Please come up. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Ayers. My family has been a part of Rutherford County since 1850s. Our boys are the 6th generation of farmers on our land in Christiana, Tennessee, and that bodes me well to serve on the Conservation Board just simply because it deals with agriculture, Lane Agri Park, which I was 4-H mom. So I've put up many a chair in the community center for many a day. I am heavily involved with agriculture in this community, the Farm Bureau Board of Directors, the Farm Bureau Leadership Committee. My husband and I are chair of the Barn Committee for Adventures in Agriculture, which I will put a plug in for that right now. Charlotte P. will be very proud of me, April 22nd from 10 to 2 at Lane Agri Park. Anything you want to know about agriculture, come on out. I'll be there all day, along with several members of my family. And the other part of the Conservation Board, for years and years and years, too many that I want to tell you, I played softball in Rutherford County. So many of you may not even know there was a ballpark at Patterson Park. I played softball there. At Samsonite, out towards Smyrna, I played softball for many years. So I'm familiar with the recreation part of the county. And then last year, I just completed Leadership Rutherford 2022. I'm a recent graduate of that and would like to get more involved in our county government. And this is kind of a way. Currently, I serve on the Agricultural Advisory Board with Commissioner Reed. So, any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Beat the timer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jason Scales.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jason Scales. I'm originally from Shelbyville, Tennessee, and I've been living here in Rutherford County since 2014. I went to school at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, where I got my Bachelor's of Science in Psychology. Then I got a Master's of Business Administration. I currently pastor a church in Christiana, Tennessee, right up the road from Miller's, Believers Faith Fellowship. We also have one in Shelbyville, Tennessee. Through my role as a pastor, I interact with a lot of youth and adults here in the city, and I have an opportunity to mentor a lot of people. I'm also a character coach through Fellowship of Christian Athletes, where I'm a character coach for the men's basketball team at MTSU, praying they win this week, as well as Blackman High School, who plays Cleveland tonight. Through that, it's provided me the opportunity to see that, in particular, what this board covers is our youth need safe and positive spaces to develop and become positive members of this community. And I want to be a part of that. I've interacted with them. They need mentorship. My son is a sophomore at Rockville High School, and he didn't make the basketball team. And we were trying to figure out what we were going to do with him to develop. We found out that the county offers a league for people his age. And through that league, he's connected socially. His confidence has grown. I've seen people be able to give back. And I'd love to be a part of furthering something like that. If elected to this board, I promise to be professional. I promise to be committed. I promise to be proactive and assertive and to be open-minded to change that I believe can make this county great. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
All right.
John James. John James. Okay. We're voting for one. We're voting for one. Cindy Ayers, Jason Scales, John James. Vote for one.
Commissioner Reed.
Cindy Ayers.
Ayers. Commissioner Beverly.
Scales.
Scales. Commissioner Johnson.
Ayers.
Ayers. Commissioner Rather.
Pastor Scales.
Scales. Commissioner McAdoo. Scales. Chairman Harris.
That's why I get the big bucks. Scales.
Scales. Scales won.
Congratulations, Mr. Scales. We'll be at the, you got the recommendation of the steering committee, and we'll be voting on you with full commission. All right. One of the things that I want to do when with steering is I want people to understand the boards, what they do. And I asked the IDB Board Chairman, Bill Jones, to come up to explain to y'all real quick exactly what the IDB Board does and what's in the works right now. So, Bill, come on up.
Thank you, Chairman Harris. Again, my name is Bill Jones. I'm currently the chairman of the Industrial Development Board. As Commissioner Harris said, he asked myself to come and give you just a brief refresher course on the Industrial Development Board. Going to kind of split that up into two things. I've asked Sumner Bolden, who is the legal counsel for the Industrial Development Board for the last 19 years, to come and give you kind of the technical piece of it. And I thought I'd spend a couple of minutes just going through how a deal tends to find its way to the Industrial Development Board and our processes. So, Sumner.
Thank you. This is sort of a bird's eye view. If anybody's ever got any more in-depth questions about it, please feel free to let me try to answer them. The board is a non-profit corporation. It's a creature.
I'm sorry to apologize. Can you put that mic on your mouth? We can't hear you.
Yes, sir. I've never been accused of not being able to be heard before, Mr. Chairman. The board is a creature of the County Commission, and it's a non-profit corporation. It consists of not fewer than 7 people. In this case, we have 8. They serve staggered 6-year terms, and they work without pay, and they'll tell you that immediately. The basic role of the Industrial Development Board is to provide employment opportunities in the county, and it's to provide those opportunities to the residents of the county. It's not really intended to bring people in. Most of the time, the commission sees the board in the context of bringing corporations in to do business here in Rutherford County, but there are also other things that we do that have to do with, agriculture, recreation, tourism, commerce, industry, trade, low-income housing, and even pollution control, if anybody ever brought something like that to us. There are 3 vehicles that we can use. The one most often used is the tax abatement, and that's done by the board actually taking title to the property for whatever the period of the abatement is going to be, and then the company pays payment in lieu of tax payments to the county and whatever municipality, if any, the company is located in for some period of time. Average is about 5 years, and then it goes back on the roll at 100%. We also had the ability to issue revenue bonds. That's not done much, but it's a possibility. But those bonds are strictly conduit bonds. There's no liability to the county, and it's strictly a liability of the company. Now, the third thing that we can do is create TIF districts, and that's sort of the polar opposite of a tax abatement. It's where the property remains on the tax roll at 100%, but the increase in the improved property is then captured for some period of time and repaid for whatever amount that they've been given this sort of abatement, I guess, for lack of a better word. That's sort of the bird's eye view. I know that's a quick one, but anyway, Mr. Jones will be a lot more interesting than I, so I'll yield.
Thank you, Senator. Again, just for the next couple of minutes, go through the kind of process that ends up with business before the Industrial Development Board. As Sumner said, normally we have a company or corporation looking to locate or relocate here. That request normally starts at the state level with the company or their site selection folks making a request at the state level. The TVA is often involved, and whatever county they may be looking at property in. Frankly, you're never dealing with the company, at least initially. They all have site selection folks, and those site selection folks are who you most often hear from. So we will hear from the site selection folks, state of Tennessee, and if they want to come and look at something in Rutherford County, a site visit will be set up. They'll bring their representatives come down here and look at buildings or land or whatever it is they're interested in. One of the more interesting things is, they're going to build a building somewhere or go in a building somewhere. Normally that's relatively standard, but what we find today they're most interested in is, and they'll a lot of times bring a human resources person with them, what they want to know most importantly is if they were to locate to Rutherford County, does Rutherford County have a workforce that's skilled in whatever skill set they need and in adequate numbers to fill the positions they have? They don't want to go somewhere where there's nobody that can fill their job. So we spend a lot of time on workforce development and working with the Chamber and Destination Rutherford to help promote workforce development and making sure we can compete in that level. Things go well at the first site visit. As the site selection folks pare down their sites they're looking at, which is usually multiple sites in multiple states. If you make that next cut, you normally get a second site visit where you have more detailed discussions about the building, the property, all those type things. And at that point in time, incentives are usually first broached as to what might be available. Again, they may be seeking incentives from the state. TVA, as a power provider, has the ability to do grants and things like that, so they're usually talking with TVA, and then they're interested in anything that the county could do, and they may have a specific request. If there is a request, then the state and TVA and the county will respond to a request for proposals, each doing their part of that. If it gets down to the point where Rutherford County is going to consider an incentive package, the Chamber and Destination Rutherford contracts with a company called Younger Associates. They're a Tennessee-based company with a nationwide practice on economic development and economic impact studies. So they will do a study to determine the economic impact of the proposed business transaction here in Rutherford County. And what the county commission has done for as long as I can remember, they have given the Industrial Development Board the authority to enter into any agreements so long as the return on the incentive is at least 3-to-1. So if over a 5-year period we're going to abate $1 million in taxes, the taxes that we actually collect would need to be at least $3 million, 3 times what we abate. And as long as that condition is met, the commission has given us the authority to negotiate and enter into those agreements. It doesn't mean if some proposal was less than that, then it would have to come before the county commission for commission's full approval should it be less than a 3-to-1 investment return. State law allows these deals to go on for up to 20 years, and if you ask the state, petition the state, you can have those extend out 30 years. Your local board is really not interested in that type of length duration for incentive packages. As Sumner said, we aim for 5 years, and I think the last study I did of the previous 5 or 6 deals was like 6.2 years, something like that. And then again, we seek a return. We start off trying to find at least a 5-to-1 return, so in excess of the 3-to-1 that the commission has given us as our target. And again, that same study, last time I looked at the previous 5 deals, again, the average length of the deal was 6.2 years, and the average return multiple on taxes abated to taxes collected was 7.47%. So we're collecting significantly more dollars than we abate and significantly more than the commission has tasked us with as a minimum. So again, that's kind of what we look at. We're interested in jobs that pay more than the current average wage in Rutherford County. So if somebody comes with seeking incentives for jobs that pay $8 an hour or $25,000 a year, something like that, it will never even get up to the IDB level, because we'll just, the economic development folks at the Chamber and Destination Rutherford know that we're not going to consider anything like that. So again, we're here to try to accommodate economic development, workforce development, and bringing higher paying and better jobs to Rutherford County, being mindful of the tax dollars, and again, trying to keep the arrangements short and to have a return of at least 3-to-1, and we seek more like 5-to-1 and have been doing a little bit better than that. So Chairman Harris, that's Reader's Digest version. I'll be happy to answer or try to answer any questions that steering committee members may have.
Any questions? I got one.
Yes, sir.
So with a growing county like ours, which is it's growing very much.
Right.
Are you having to recruit more, or are you having to be in a situation where people are coming to you more?
Well, frankly, it's we get a lot of activity that comes to us. Of all the deals that probably contact the chamber or something like that, the IDB probably looks at 10% of them, maybe even less than that. So we are responsive to those type situations, but we also host the higher end site development, site selection firms to make sure they know what's available in Rutherford County, so that when they have clients looking to relocate somewhere, that they understand what our inventory of land and properties and buildings look like. So we do outbound, when I say we, the Chamber and Destination Rutherford do provide information and court these site selection firms, because again, that's where all of this starts. So both, I guess, Chairman.
Okay, and then the other thing is, as you're well aware of, the housing market and the cost for per house here, average cost of a house is very high. So when you're recruiting businesses, are you looking at businesses with more white collar or more blue collar?
Well, again, our first cut is just what the average wage is, and again, we want to be, if we're going to be incenting business here, we want to do it for jobs that pay higher than the average wage here. So that's kind of our first cut. Again, white-collar jobs are all well and good, and we certainly are active in recruitment of those in corporate headquarters and those type things. What we're finding, frankly, is that some of the advanced manufacturing jobs that are out there these days pay more than some of these white-collar jobs do. So if it's a high-tech firm that's in advanced manufacturing or those type things, they pay nice wages, and we would recruit them as well.
That's a good point. I'm good. Thank you. Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just say something. Bill, I can't ever remember you not being on the IDB board. As a matter of fact,
you work for free. There's lots of available jobs, Commissioner.
We both had color to our hair back when I could remember that. And just a general statement.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service to the county and all that you've meant for the county, and working tirelessly through the years on the IDB to recruit for Rutherford County. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. And Jeff, you and I have both been awfully fortunate. And as some of the other people that were applying for other jobs said, I believe that if those of us who've been fortunate, we need to give back some. If we can spend a few hours a month working on this, it's time well spent. And I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, and I concur. Bill's a friend of mine, and I've appointed, since I've been a commissioner, probably 3 or 4 members of the industrial board, and y'all get a lot of people come at you sometimes, and I understand it, but y'all have done a great job, and I appreciate you coming here.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, we got an opening on the IDB board. We have 2 people, John James and Tracy Binkley. So is Ms. Binkley here? I'm sorry. I apologize so much.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Tracy Binkley, and I have had the privilege of serving a term, I believe 7-year term, I believe, Chairman Jones, on the IDB board. A little bit about me. I'm a native Tennessean. I've lived in the county for 24 years. I am a financial advisor with Morgan Stanley here in Murfreesboro. I am a graduate of the University of Tennessee and the University of Missouri, where I got my MBA in finance. I've done commercial lending in my life at Bank of America, and I've been about 24 years now on the financial investment side. I'm a certified financial planner. Here in the county, I am a graduate of Leadership Rutherford and also Leadership Middle Tennessee. Served on a lot of different boards in different capacities, but this one is particularly meaningful to me. I feel like I've brought something to it. I've been an active participant, a regular and active participant on the board here, and I've enjoyed and think I've contributed to it as well. So, any question?
Any questions? Thank you, sir. All right, we're voting for 1. It is Tracy Binkley and John James. John James is not here. So we're voting for 1. Go ahead.
Commissioner Beverly?
Binkley.
Binkley. Commissioner McAdoo? Binkley. Commissioner Ruther?
Mr. Binkley.
Binkley. Commissioner Johnson?
Binkley.
Commissioner Reed?
Binkley.
Binkley. And Chairman Harris?
Binkley.
Binkley.
Congratulations. All right, next on the agenda is confirm Gary Davis as county representative on the SMYRNA Rutherford County Airport Authority. This is a county mayor appointment. It is for Helen Colvin's term expires March of 2023. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Beverly.
I'm not quite sure of the process, but Ms. Colvin's done a great job. She's been a vice chair of that board for 22 years. She's led our airport in SMYRNA to a great deal of prosperity, 3rd busiest and largest in the state, operations-wise. It's led to an abundance of growth, feeding right into the Industrial Development Board. I've trained up at that airport. I've seen the efficiency and how it runs. I think she's done a great job, and honestly, I'd like to see her stay.
Any other questions? Now, this is a county mayor appointee. This is not a steering recommendation. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Up until today, I didn't realize that Ms. Colvin was interested in a reappointment. This position's been open for a couple of months, and literally up until I walked into the chamber this evening, I didn't realize she was interested. We did receive a letter dated March 2nd that we received today expressing her interest. This position's been open, was anticipated being open for a couple of months. Having waited on that, I reached out to Mr. Davis, who is an accomplished pilot and runs an aircraft business here in Rutherford County, and I thought he would make an appropriate appointment. Again, I had not heard from Ms. Colvin. She did not communicate to my office directly about her interest in reappointment. So what I would ask the committee to do is roll this to the next steering committee meeting to give Ms. Colvin an opportunity to reach out to the mayor's office to express her intent on reappointment, and then we'll go from there.
So you're rescinding your nomination?
I would request that we roll it till the next steering committee meeting so I can have a conversation with Ms. Colvin if that's what she would like to do.
Okay. Do I have a motion to defer this till next month?
So moved.
Have a motion. I got a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? All right, let's move on. Next on the agenda is Juvenile Detention Board report. This will be Mayor Carr.
So there's nothing new to report. We've completed the SOP, and we're waiting for the final approval from the board on the SOP, which should be forthcoming at our next meeting next week. But that's essentially it. So there's nothing really to report.
Any questions? All right, let's move on. Next is lobbyist update. Again, Mayor Carr, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So let me give you, there's been a lot that's happened, and so they might take a couple of minutes. For your benefit, the bill is Senate Bill 820, and the House companion bill is House Bill 1206. We have an amendment, that's a caption bill, and I won't go into the details about what that is, but it's essentially just a placeholder until we can get the legislation written that we want that reflects our intent. And so the amendment has been written and has been submitted, and if you go to the Tennessee Legislative website and do a search of the bill, you can type in HB 1206 or SB 820, and you can find the bill and the companion amendments. But I did want to take a minute, and explain what the amendment does, and this will only take a second if you'll allow me. Section 1 of the bill authorizes counties to levy impact fees, but requires 2 regularly scheduled meetings with a 2/3 vote to approve. Section 2 and 3 expands the authorization to include all cities in Tennessee. Section 4 changes the County Powers of Relief Act to the Property Taxpayer Protection Act. Section 5 expands adequate facilities to include fire, police, and EMS. Sections 6 through 14 expands adequate facilities to include all local governments and makes adjustments to each procedure to reflect all local government, preserves the $1 per square foot provision, and preserves requiring 2 regularly scheduled meetings with 2/3 votes both times to approve. And Section 15 preserves a ban on local real estate transfers tax, and preserves all private acts currently held in place prior to its enactment. And so the bill, as amended, was put on notice for Property Management Subcommittee in the House for last Wednesday, and we
pulled the bill, we didn't pull it, we rolled the bill to the last calendar day at the request of the chairman of the committee, because the chairman of the committee requested that we try to enter into, or attempt to enter into negotiating with the home builders and the Realtors Association, who are opposed to this bill for matters that, quite honestly, are not real clear to me, but that doesn't matter. But anyway, so we attempted, or the sponsor, Scott Sapicki, attempted on 2 different occasions to negotiate a compromise for which, to be quite honest, he was treated rudely, disrespectfully, and with a great deal of, well, he was treated rudely. And they essentially told him they didn't have to negotiate nor compromise. Again, I say this because we were asked, or the sponsor was asked by the chair of the committee if we would negotiate potential compromise. And so we attempted to do that, or he attempted to do that. And so now we're scheduled to be on the last calendar day, which will be probably in 2 to 3 weeks. And so that's the posture of the bill in the House. The posture of the bill in the Senate is not much different. The Senate would like the House to go first, just because the process through committee is a little bit longer. And so the Senate is waiting on the House at this time. And I'll be glad to take some questions if there are any. I want to be careful about some of my answers because I don't obviously want to give away the strategy of the lobbyists. I will say this: they have done a remarkable job, and I'm very, very pleased. We always knew this was going to be difficult, but we're making great progress, and so we're still in the game, very much in the game.
Any questions? I have some. Who are the sponsors in the House and the Senate?
The sponsor is Scott Sapicki in the House.
Where's he from?
And Joey Hensley in the Senate. Scott Sapicki represents part of Murray County. Joey Hensley represents part of Murray County, Lawrence County, and some of the counties in southwest Middle Tennessee. I don't know the name of all of them.
Is there any co-sponsors?
I don't know. I haven't looked, so I don't know. Thank you. Lewis County.
So if anybody wants to co-sponsor, they can do that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And of course, you kind of answered my question on the current language. And are you willing to amend it? And I guess you are, and you already explained what it'll look like.
We would amend the bill as long as there's a potential for compromise. So to the extent there's a potential compromise, then yes, the bill would have to be amended to reflect that compromise.
But you're saying that 2 of the strongest lobbyist groups are against you?
They're against us, yes, sir.
Okay. So which ones are they? Is there any other ones besides the Home Builder Association and the, I would say, the Realtors?
No, sir, there would not be. As a matter of fact, it's just the home builders and the Realtors as far as I know. And on our side, we have the Tennessee Municipal League, we have Farm Bureau, and so this is a heavyweight battle. We also received the universal endorsement of the County Mayors Association and the County Commissioners Association.
So how does leadership, how are they, have you tested their temperature on that?
We have spoken to Speaker Sexton. We have spoken to the committee chairman. Again, it was at their behest that they asked us to reach out to the home builders and to the Realtors to determine if there was a compromise available. We didn't do it once. We did it twice, and we were, again, I understand from time to time you don't want to negotiate, but I think the thing that was most discouraging is the condescending way that the representative was treated. I think that's the thing that bothers me the most.
So my last questions, and I'll send this over. So do you feel that the taxpayers of Rutherford County got their dues on $100,000?
I do.
Okay. Commissioner Beverly, and then Chairman Phillips.
More of just a comment. I can imagine the Home Builders Association and the Realtor Association got a good bit of emails from their own members opposing this. I can say for one, some of those emails were sent in were just a click of a button on a pre-filled email. Most of them probably may not have even read it. That being said, on first glance, those emails, it might seem yes, that's something I'd be against, but I'd wonder if they actually read the bill or not. So I'm really sad to hear that our representative was treated that way.
What's interesting, if I may comment on that, Commissioner, what's interesting is I've sat down with numerous home builders, numerous realtors, and I've even sat down and had conversations with the leadership of the Home Builders Association. And when you lay out the fact that all this bill does is it takes the authority from the General Assembly to legislate how the financial tools that local governments can use to pay for the expansion of services as a result of growth. It takes it out of the legislature and pushes it down to the city councils and the county commissions, which is where it belongs. Indeed, Governor Lee, senior staff, and I've said this before, has said the state doesn't have a vested interest here, and the state doesn't. The state doesn't have an interest here. This is a purely local issue. So if it's purely a local issue, the question it remains is why is the Tennessee General Assembly still involved in it? And it's about power and control. It's easier for lobbying groups to influence their power and influence in Nashville than it is in 95 different counties and 300 different cities across the state. But the fact of the matter is, in Rutherford County especially, we're looking at, in the next 4 years, $745 million in new school bond debt. We currently have $400 million in school bond debt. So before I complete my first term, Rutherford County potentially could have $1.2 billion in school bond debt, and we are challenged with how we're going to pay for that. That is a big lift. And right now, the Rutherford County property taxpayer subsidizes all new residential construction with their property taxes.
Chairman Phillips.
Thank you. I've thought about this for a little bit over a week, and I've prepared a little bit of a statement so I won't lose my way or forget about this. But let me just kind of start off by thanking the County Commission and the Mayor's Office for their tireless work over the last month or 6 weeks and getting our resolution at least into the form of a bill. As most of you know, the County Commission has worked toward this for the last 15 years or so and have never been able to at least get a bill before the state legislature. And with the work mostly by our mayor and his office, we've at least got into the ball game for the very first time since the County Powers Relief Act was enacted. Just a couple of things that you guys are well aware of. Our population in 2010, about the time that the County Powers Relief Act was put into effect, was about 262,000 people, a little over. And this year, 2023, we have in excess of 365,000 people, and that's a 39, almost a 40% increase in population in 10 years. The expectations over the next 10 years is somewhere around 500,000 people, and over the next 20 years, as much as 750,000 people. Just swallow that if you could. Murfreesboro has a population of 165,000 people. Just a side note, went down to Mobile, Alabama to visit some elderly relatives about a month ago, and I looked up the population of Birmingham as we were driving through Birmingham. They've lost population from 220 down to 195,000 people over the last 20 years. Down to 195,000 people. Birmingham, Alabama is a big city. compare that to Murfreesboro, 165,000 people, and on the way to surpass Chattanooga in the very, very near future. I think we're within, if I'm not mistaken, less than 10,000 people of what Chattanooga is. Once again, 165,000 people in Murfreesboro, over 57,000 people in SMYRNA, over 40,000 people in Laverne, and Eagleville, Commissioner Reed, is approaching 1,000 people. The county population that is not in a municipal boundary is a little over 100,000 people. The 5-year Rutherford County school building plan currently stands at $745 million. It's hard for me to say that. $745 million, and just next year alone is almost $193 million. Our 5-year collection on development tax and the school facilities tax averages about $6 million. Next year, $193 million revenue produced by the school facilities and our development tax is $6 million. 193 and 6. I'm not going to sneeze at $6 million bucks, but just what is the percentage? 2 to 3%. Our current school population exceeds 50,000 people, 50,000 students, and our 5-year historical plan, our 10-year historical plan will exceed well over 60,000 people in the next students in the next 10 years. And here's my statement and my recommendation. As chairman of the commission, there are many unknowns at this point in time, and before taking any action, it is important that we investigate our possible actions in case our lobbyist efforts in amending the County Powers Relief Act are not successful. Such options may include taking legal recourse against the state of Tennessee, but we need to investigate it. We don't need to do a lot of discussing without legal advice. Nick, County Attorney, I'm asking that the county attorneys, our legal department, begin looking at what legal options we may have, including any legal recourse against the state of Tennessee. If you'll begin that investigation for us and report back to either this committee or this chairman.
Reported back to this committee. All right. Any other questions? Commissioner McAdoo? Chairman McAdoo, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make one comment. At the meeting last week of the County Commission Association, we had a good representation from Rutherford County. And if you think that your voice doesn't mean anything, it do across the state of Tennessee. What was surprising to me, we have 95 counties in the state of Tennessee, and they did call Rutherford County, but it wasn't on a good note. There's 5 counties that hadn't paid their county commission dues, and we were one of them. So I wish the chairman of steering can follow up on that and see if we're going to be a member of the County Commission Association and make sure that we pay our dues. On the lobbyists are working great, just like the mayor said, but you would be surprised of the counties that are behind us. They brought it up in the meeting, they discussed it. Even Davidson County discussed it and was a part of looking forward to this being passed. So when you look at the counties across the state of Tennessee, 95 counties with members, that's a big voice vote that I'm pretty sure they will listen to. So therefore, it's good. It's good to communicate with your commissioners, because you never know behind this what other project that we have that we want to get passed, and we can definitely count on that County Commissioner Association.
So you're asking me to look into our membership of this association? All right. Any other questions? All right, I'll give a quick comment. Listen to what Chairman Phillips says. Here's one for y'all as well. Stats say that in Rutherford County, we average 2.3 children per household. 2.3. It costs $8,643 per student per year to go to school. Now, the state pays 65% of that. We pay 35%. So if it's 2.2, then you see we're losing money big time. And that's got nothing to do with fire. It's got nothing to do with police, EMS. So, you know, I hope that we can get, I really am hoping that we can get this through. I have, you know, I mean, we've been fighting this my 5 years. Jeff's been fighting it for a long time, and we have a lot of work to do. So I'm hoping that the mayor can pull one out. So any other questions? Chairman Gooch?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate Chairman Phillips challenging our county attorney to come up with options and getting back with us if this legislation, this bill fails. And I know that Rutherford County is not the only one that's struggling. And would like to ask the mayor, are you aware of what other counties' options that they're looking at?
So if I understood the question correctly, because I could barely hear you, Commissioner, you are asking what are the options other counties are looking at?
Yeah, not options that we're looking at.
If we're not successful with the legislation?
Yes. What are you aware, meeting with mayors and of other counties, what options that they are looking at?
Yes, I am.
Can you share them?
I can. I know Murray County, I've had conversations with the mayor and some of the county commissioners over there. I don't know what their financial situation is. Apparently, it might be a little more dire than ours. I know that they have mentioned a moratorium on building. I know they've consulted attorneys in that regard. I know they're looking at other reasons, other revenue sources like fees. What can they do with fees? So I think as the home building community and the real estate community insist on not working with local governments, they're going to find that these local governments are unwilling to use or resort to the only tool that they've ever had available to them, and that is raise property taxes. That's essentially the only tool we have and Murray County has. And you go, well, we got the facilities tax. No, we're locked in. We're locked in at $1 a square foot for 4 years, and we can't raise it more than 10% after 4 years. We're locked in. And so the only tool we have, like Murray County, at our disposal to deal with an impending $745 million increase in bond is to raise property taxes. And so if we value our bond rating and these things, and that doesn't even count, like the chairman said, the fire protection services, the expansion of the sheriff's patrol, the expansion of EMS, the roads that need to be maintained. We're talking about solid waste management. We're talking about a lot of things for a county of 365,000 people, and we're growing. And the only tool the Tennessee General Assembly has said that you can use to fund the expansion of these services as a result of growth is to raise the property taxes. Indeed, the olive branch the home builders did offer back in January when I first met down with them was, well, you just need to raise property taxes. That was their solution. And I'm just saying it's not right that the people who can least afford it pay for something that they will receive no benefit for. There's got to be a better way. There's a more conservative way, I know.
Mr. Chairman, forgive me, I'm not totally sure. When did we set the last facilities tax and when does it expire?
I'm sorry?
The last facilities fees, when did we set that and when does it expire?
So I believe that was a bill that was passed in 2019? 20. And so we will be able to raise that 10% in 2024. But I remind this body that we only can raise it a maximum of 10%, so we go from $1 to $1.10, and that doesn't cover the rate of inflation.
That's what I was about to cover is, I don't know, I'm sure everybody here knows, you've tried to buy eggs recently, tried to buy anything at the grocery store, and I buy a lot of baby formula. It's a lot more expensive than it used to be.
Mr. Chairman Gooch, Commissioner Gooch, I hope I answered your question.
You did, Mayor. So just to clarify, Murray County is actually looking into a moratorium?
To the degree that they're looking at it, I don't know. I know they're consulting attorneys. Murray County is looking at all options. And I was pleased to hear Chairman Phillips say we need to look at all options. And I think that's where we just need to look at all options, and that doesn't include or preclude anything. I'll leave that to this body to decide. But I would say that if the home builders and the realtors believe we're in the same situation we were 4, 8, or 12 years ago, they couldn't be more mistaken.
And the fees that you mentioned, are those building code fees?
Yeah, so I spoke to Doug DeMasi. I asked him specifically because I'm quite honestly I'm unfamiliar with the schedule of fees, and I just said, hey, what latitude does the county have or the county commission have in raising or lowering those fees? And his response to me, there's a great deal of latitude that's available there. And so again, I'm not saying that I'm actively pursuing a solution here. I think our solution is amending the bill. That's the solution I'm committed to, absolutely 100% committed to, and we'll see that through its end, one way or the other. But I think as your mayor, you're always wanting me to make sure that we have other options available to deal with this impending financial catastrophe.
Commissioner Reed.
Mayor, I had sat down for a sandwich Saturday, and I got an email from Murray County from the commissioner from District 8 in Murray County.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I got some of this information about that, and it was talking about the subcommittee and where we are there, and urging me to contact those members of that subcommittee in any way that we can to get them on board with us. So Murray County is really pulling out all stops.
They are.
And I thought it was quite interesting. The commissioner from District 8 contacts the member from District 8 over here in Rutherford County. So, you know, us District 8 folks are a little boisterous at times, so maybe that's part of it. So I think this is important.
I hope it's part of it.
Anybody else? It's a tough one, man. I don't know, you know, I wish you luck. I know in my 5 years dealing with 2 lobbyist groups was the toughest thing I've ever done. So good luck.
The good things to be had are always the toughest, so that's okay.
You put that on a Christmas card? All right, let's move on. Next is our HR report. Ms. Stevenson.
Good evening. The report should be on your iPads for you to review. And I will tell you, if there's ever anything that you want added or you want additional information, if you'll just let me know, I'll make sure that I have that for you as well. So for the month of February, the biggest items that we have for ADA is we had the interactive process. Again, that's meeting with employees who have either trying to come back from a leave or an on-the-job injury, and we're looking to see if there's any accommodations that we can make for them. As far as personnel changes, we had 7 promotions and 8 transfers to other positions. So we had those in this month. We are not actively in the middle of any audit processes in the HR department right now. Benefits, we had for employees to reach out about TCRS applications, a couple for Social Security disability, and another one for TCRS disability. So we still have individuals who are retiring pretty much monthly inquiring about this. Community involvement, we had a Read to Succeed program, the Business at Its Best program with the Chamber, Tennessee Achieves, where we mentor high school students on their application process for college. We had 227 individuals participate in the employee recognition event this year, so that was a huge success where they received milestone anniversary awards for 5 years up to 50. We actually had an employee in our county clerk's office, and if you go by there, wish her well. Jane Knight has been with Rutherford County government in the county clerk's office for 50 years. So that is a huge accomplishment on her part, and was happy to celebrate her time with us. We had 79 individuals apply for FMLA, 18 for military leave, 5 for COVID leave, 5 for extended leave, 5 OJIs, and 3 for personal leave. Offboarding, we had 11 resignations or separations. Onboarding, we had 16 new hires this month. And all of our numbers, I've mentioned before that sometimes all the numbers haven't come in, like they may be in the process, the hiring process. So just remember that if you keep these reports and you see that the numbers in February change, all the process haven't been done through finance yet. So I don't want you to think that we're later altering our reports. We conducted 98 salary evaluations. I've been actively reviewing the employee handbook with Eric Hennessy, trying to see if there's any updates that need to be made or new policies to be added. We had 7 different promotions from organizations around the county offering benefits, one of which was the rodeo that took place this last weekend, and we got feedback that that rodeo was a lot of fun for those individuals who went. We received 366 applications. We submitted 160 declination letters, conducted 129 interviews, and had 28 job postings in the month of February. We conducted 28 background checks, and we provided 280 open records requests out of our office and conducted 10 random drug testing pools. Special projects that we had this month, some social media posts, it's budget preparation. We assisted the Juvenile Detention Center and the County Attorney's Office with the SOP audit and review, budget comparisons, assisted the opioid committee with their application process, and unemployment wage audits, offboarding processes, and some other tasks, but those are some of the highlights. Evaluation and testing, we conducted 22 additional background checks, 18 physicals, 14 of the drug screenings. We had 25 drug screenings that took place. Title VI, we had 71 requests for interpreters in the court process. 67 of those were Spanish, 2 were Arabic, and 2 were Korean. And finally, we conducted training this month. We had trained 115 employees on business ethics, 293 on drug-free workplace, 16 on the employee handbook. We had 37 participate in leadership development classes this month, 113 on sexual harassment, and 23 on Title VI. And that's the end of my report. Are there any questions?
Mr.
Vermont, go ahead.
I just want to thank you. I had the opportunity to sit down and visit with Ms. Stevenson and tour her office and meet her staff. And as a new commissioner, I appreciated you taking the time. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We enjoyed having you.
One other thing, you have an event coming up this weekend, correct?
We do. We have our meal packing event. It's our 4th year to put this event on. We have 190 individuals already signed up to volunteer to assist with that. We'll pack anywhere between 55 and 57,000 meals for the community, and we have the meals come in. It's a package, and each package has 6 meals for a family, and each case has 36 packages. So a case has 216 meals that will go back to the food insecure in our community. So yeah, it'll be a pretty fun event. Thank you.
All right, need a motion to accept her report.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Need a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right, gentlemen, let's move on.
Okay.
Next is number 11, discussion. Thank you, Sonia, excuse me. Thank you very much. Good luck this weekend. No, we're not. I'm sorry. Next is the litigation list. You have it on your iPads. Is there any questions on the litigation list? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next is discussion concerning updating the number of school board representatives on the insurance committee from 3 representatives to 1 representative. I'm going to ask Ed Elam to come up and to explain this to all of us, and we will be going from there.
Chairman Harris. Now, would you like for me to do 11 and 12 together? So the Insurance Committee made a motion to bring to this committee some changes to the structure of the Insurance and Benefits Committee. And the exhibit, your first exhibit that you see is basically what was presented to the Insurance Committee as a starting point, because there's several things in the old resolution, I think 2007 date, and I think I have provided for you, that from an insurance director standpoint, I thought there was a couple of things that need to be clarified. So in that first exhibit, you'll see where there is some language about the county mayor. And there is not anything that I have found in the resolution showing that the county mayor serves as chairman or it's voted on. Now, it may be not in an insurance resolution. It may come from another resolution that's grouped together, but I haven't been able to locate anything. So in order to clean that language up, of course, it's up to the body of this, it's up to this body and the full commission how they want to handle it. But right now, the county mayor has served as chairman way back, even before the 80s, when it was the county judge and 3 insurance agents. So, and sometimes it's hard to find all the amendments and everything else, but we've dug as hard as we could and did not find anything. So first part of that that was presented to the committee was A, which tries to clear some of that language up. The second part of that went to the committee was B, and it's the vice chairman shall be selected from the committee from among its voting members. We could not find any language at all in there talking about how that vice chairman was selected, when that vice chairman is to be selected, and for what term. So all I know is, after speaking with Mrs. Hickerson, that the vice chairman was voted on years ago. And Commissioner Phillips, if you have any insight in that, that's great, but I don't know of anything. C, you see 3 county commissioners appointed by steering. That's the same as the 2007 resolution. 4 members at large, that's the same as the 2007 resolution. And then you have E, where there's 5 employees appointed. There is a little bit of difference there. That's where we talk about the schools being reduced from 1 person from the Board of Ed, 2 people from the Board of Ed down to 1, and the REA member representative being eliminated and replaced with the county's human resource director and the county's finance director. I will say on that first exhibit that you have under E1, at the very end it says superintendent of schools, and in the one that you have that's the third exhibit, that has been changed to director of schools. So I just wanted to point out that change. So that's what was presented to the insurance committee. The insurance committee made a motion, and there was discussion, and basically there was an amendment to the motion and then a motion, and it was voted on, and I will kind of read to you from the Insurance Committee. Following discussion and in the event this recommendation was voted down, this was the amendment put out by Commissioner Phillips. He made the motion to amend the motion in support of this resolution, and it be forwarded to the steering committee, and the steering committee would make a recommendation before the full county commission. The motion for the amendment was seconded by Mary Hickerson, and on roll call vote, the motion passed 7-3, and then the full motion passed also. So that was the recommendation from the insurance committee. So as we move on, let me point out that your second thing that you have is the 2007 resolution. One of the things as you read, as you see where I pointed out as far as the new resolution, you will see that, again, the no mention, it just says county mayor, but it doesn't say anything about chairman. And again, the vice chairman. But if you look at on that 2007, and part of this is cleanup. If you look at on the first page, 3E, that's the very last. On 3E, it says 5 employees of Rutherford County, including 2 employees from the Board of Ed, and to be selected by the school superintendent, 1 employee from the sheriff's department to be selected by the sheriff, 1 employee from the highway department to be selected by the highway superintendent, and 2 employees from the county general to be selected by the benefits and insurance committee from applications forwarded with recommendation of their department head. Okay. My math says that's 6 people. So that's part of trying to clean up this resolution, because it says 5 employees of Rutherford County including, and it adds up to 6. So again, that is trying to clean up the resolution. So I've been to Nick and just got him to put together a resolution redefining the responsibilities and the restructuring, trying to get this cleaned up. And also trying to make sure that what we brought to this committee was what the insurance committee recommended. I will say on what I forwarded to you, there was a couple of things, and one is when you get to the 5th paragraph, it says effective January 1, 2023. That would be effective whatever you wanted to make it. So this is basically the resolution with the structure that was presented to the insurance committee. And the only thing that's would needed to be added to this, if you agree with it, is the selection of the vice chair. When and for what term? And I mean, that's pretty much whatever's left up to y'all that you'd like to do.
Ed, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Why is it that it's automatic county mayor, chairman of the committee?
It's a good question.
So why is it in here?
Oh, why is it in here?
Because I mean, you got it on your resolution for 2023.
Yes, I put it in here because it's been like that ever since the insurance committee, as far as I know, was ever formed. I mean, of course, you can make any recommendation changes that you want to make, but I just went with, because the county mayor has always been, so I didn't change it.
Yeah, and the reason I'm saying that is because I'm looking on 2007's resolution, and it doesn't say that. It just says the committee be made up with the county mayor. It doesn't say he has to be chairman.
Yes, sir, and that is correct, and the chairman has been that way. So only thing I did was just put it in there because it's always been that way. I could not find a resolution that said yes or no as far as the county mayor. Sometimes we get into where like there wasn't any insurance committee resolutions, but then you might find a resolution to where there's a list of things that the county mayor might be chairman, but I still, in working with Nick, I still wasn't able to come up with anything. County clerk's office, that stated the mayor as chairman or not being chairman, or even how it was selected, to be honest with you.
Any questions? You done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any questions? All right, gentlemen, you had this resolution in front of you. I'm going to give all you 60 seconds to read it, so I don't have to read it. And then we're going to vote to whether we accept it or not. Go ahead, Nick.
Chairman, just real quick, after everybody has finished reading, I just have one comment to make and a suggestion for the board, but I'll let everybody finish.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I got one question. Ed, in this one section here about the mayor voting, basically he will not vote in anything unless it's a tie vote, correct?
Yes, sir. That would
Okay,
be correct.
he is an ex officio member.
No, he is counted towards the quorum. His vote, he's just not, the way it's been written, he is not, and this is the way it's been done, is he does not vote unless there's a tie vote.
We good, gentlemen?
I have one thing I want to point out. I don't want to.
First of all, let me hold up. Is there a motion for this resolution?
You
Your
need a
motion to
second?
accept this resolution?
Yes.
Is there a
Yes.
second? Second, Commissioner Reed. Now discussion.
Thank you. I believe we need to at least to put on the vice chair a term limit.
So you're saying amendment?
I do think we need to amend it at least a one-year term, just to establish that, because if not, how do we get into terms of possible removal? And then we're coming back to this committee to address it. Let's see if we can address it now and lay out the groundwork.
So do you want that amendment on the vice chair and the chairman, or just the vice chair only?
I would say just the vice chair at this point, with the county mayor not only voting in, counting towards the quorum, but not having a vote except in a tiebreaker. I would say keep it at that, but the vice chair establish a term of 1 year reelected. What can we do every September?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Commissioner Beverly. I had spoken with Ed on Friday about this, as we were trying to everybody was trying to get out the door at 5, 6 o'clock at night. That's what we work late in the county, we all do.
Yes, we do.
But with that said, that was a suggestion that I had made simply because you have various terms for your different officials, some 2, some 4, some are at the discretion of their supervising official on there. So my suggestion was to do a year, and then, and you might comment on this, I think we re-up our insurance, every July, or at least every 3 to 4 years in the July term. That's generally when policies go from. They start kind of in July. So I was thinking in the July meeting is when every year you could do a nomination of your vice chair so that it's set in stone. And so if that, Commissioner Ed, if you're good with that, Commissioner Beverly could make that part of his amendment, and I can amend the resolution for the commission meeting.
Okay, first of all, we got an amendment. So you want to amend it and say that the vice chair is elected every year?
Every year at the July meeting.
Is there a July meeting? Is there a July?
There's not always a July meeting.
Okay, do you want to say August?
It'd be the first meeting after July 1st.
Let's do that.
Would probably be more accurate.
Okay.
I'd propose an amendment.
August?
The first meeting after July 1st, the vice chair is elected to a 1-year term.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Johnson.
That would be regarding Section B in this?
Yes,
That's
sir.
what you're amending?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, that's fine.
Okay, got a motion and an amendment. All those approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, back to the original motion. So we have a motion to send this to the county commission with the board's recommendation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hold on. Yes. Sir? Okay, no problem.
Commissioner Beverly,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo, Chairman Harris.
No.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
All right. The last thing I have is other business, is the opioid grant request. I am pulling this off. The reason I am is because we have a whole lot more information we got to get to you guys, and I don't feel comfortable bringing it up before steering, so we're going to move that off. And is there any other business? All right, let me say this and adjourn. A lot goes into these meetings. It's tedious, it's long, but it's important. And I want to thank every one of y'all, because I talk to all y'all personally, and I try to keep you informed as much as I can, and I try to give you as much information before these meetings so you understand what's going on. So I want to thank y'all, and I want to say a good job tonight. We picked some good people, and we are adjourned.